Hi, everybody. This is Ron Deal with FamilyLife Blended. I'm joined by Gayla Grace, my colleague and author and speaker that works with us here at FamilyLife.
Good to be here, Ron.
Yeah, good to have you. We're answering your questions again today. If you're not familiar with FamilyLife, please come learn all about our podcasts, our resources, our live events, our online classes that you can be a part of. Learn all about it at familylife.com/blended. We want to help your family and help you love well within your home. I should mention that these are questions that were submitted to us through our live stream event called Blended and Blessed. It's something that we do every spring. These questions came in 2021. And we answered some of them during the event, but there were lots and lots of questions. So we're taking some time to create these little videos and try to answer more of them. Feel free, if you want to submit a question, you can do that through social media. Facebook, for example, find us at Family Life Blended, and feel free to join the tribe and follow, and we'll keep trying to help your family grow as you move forward. Okay, so let's jump in. Gayla, this first one's important and it's
Yeah,
big.
kind of a hard one.
Yeah, and it's a little serious too. So what if your stepchildren do not want a relationship with you? There it is. They're out of the house now. They're only with us every other weekend or so. The mother, the biological mother, is very negative about me. This is the stepmom talking, and I've never even had a conversation with her, she says. Yeah, it's tough. So bottom line, what if the kids are just not motivated to have a relationship with you? Get some thoughts?
Mhm. I think for one, there are seasons
Mm,
in step family life, and don't give up on pursuing a relationship, even if that's where it looks like it is right now. Our natural tendency would be to just, well, gosh, I'm going to quit trying. I would say continue to, it may be small things. It may be really just sending a text on a birthday, or if you know there's a big exam, or being intentional
yeah.
with small things so that they know that you're still back here, but you're not being overly pushy. You're not demanding a relationship, because that will just send them away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You know, it really comes down to motivation. And if you're highly motivated and their motivation is low, you can't force them to have motivation. You know,
Right. Mhm.
I remind people all the time, like, some of you have been through a divorce. You know what it is to be highly motivated trying to love somebody who's not motivated to love you.
Right.
You can't force that. They have to find it within themselves. Same dynamic is true here. But what you can do is continue to be available. I often think of that story of the prodigal son. And there's this point where the prodigal son has gone a long ways away and he hasn't turned back emotionally toward the father at all. His back is to the father. He's not interested. But what does a father do? Well, he goes to the edge of the property and he waits. You can just, I have this vision of this guy standing on the edge of a, a plateau or something. And he's just looking, he's just waiting.
Right.
You're available. If they turn around, you're there. Like, finding what that looks like, I think, is the challenge. It doesn't mean that you bend over every time or accommodate every wish or desire they have. That's not right. You can't do that. You can't pay for everything and just try to win. No, but you can be available. You can send them a text, like you said, every once in a while, even if just to say, I'm still open. I'm still interested. I'm still
Right.
here.
Right.
You let me know if we can get together. Not harassing, not badgering, but available. I think that's the balance that you're going for. And
Eh,
what really makes it tough is if the child's still in the home and it's cold.
for sure.
you know
Yeah.
you got any thoughts
Yeah.
about that?
Well, I would also say be careful that you don't paint this negative picture in your head. Sometimes we create
Mm,
scenarios that
mm,
aren't really as bad as we think. Like, we're envisioning what's going on in this other home. And maybe some of that is going on, but maybe it's not.
yeah,
Maybe because we can set ourselves up to then we be the cold person, because, we're anticipating, well, this is what's happening. This is going to how they're going to treat me anyway.
yeah,
So, we can't let our thoughts go wild.
yep.
We just can't.
Lead with love.
Mhm.
you know do what you can, be available. I think then, as the seasons change, as you mentioned a minute ago, then sometimes that makes a difference and the child turns back around and is open to you. We had a
And pray for
related
their
question.
heart.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and pray for their heart.
Yeah.
Just pray that they would want to have a relationship with
Yeah.
you. Prayer is powerful.
We had a related question that says, how do you walk in love with an adult child that is estranged from their biological parent and you're the step parent? So I'm going to assume this is, all right, I'm the step parent in the home and my spouse, that's the biological parent they're talking about, and the child is estranged from your spouse. How do you walk in love with that child as a step parent? Again, likely difficult,
Mhm,
awkward.
mhm.
My assumption is that the child's, generally speaking, kids, their first priority relationship is with their biological parent. Step parent is a secondary relationship.
Right.
So if they're having trouble with that primary bio parent, they may or may not be interested in trying to develop a relationship with you. If they're open to you, and sometimes you feel caught in the middle at that point, like they're talking to you about their parent and you're saying, I wouldn't get caught in the middle of their stuff. Don't try to be the go-between, but love the child as best you can, support them however you can. It's okay to have a relationship with that child even in that situation. Just do it mindful that ultimately this child and their parent are going to have to move toward each other and figure this out.
Right.
You just want to try to be an asset to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of it you just have to accept it is as it is
Hmm.
for now,
Yep.
and be okay with that.
Okay, let's move on to another one. Good questions. What's your best advice for parenting or step parenting young adult children who are 15 to 23 years of age? Now, you and I both are kind of in that season of life. We've got young adults, empty nest. Yeah, there's some interesting aspects to this, isn't there?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind is kids this age or young adults, they're wanting to create their own life separate from us.
Yep.
So it's really natural and healthy, in my opinion, that they are going out there and just wanting to figure out who they are
Hmm.
and maybe not hang around us, the parents, as much as we would like them to.
Yep.
Some of that is just very normal.
Hmm. So you really should assume there will be more distance in your relationship than closeness. I mean, think about it. Developmentally, they're wanting to move up and out and
Right.
fly on their own wings. And blending, bonding, merging, integrating are all terms that are about coming closer. That's working against developmentally what they need to be doing. So you got to hold loosely how much they will be invested in the developing relationship with you and the family. I think you just have to realize it's a process at that point in time. One of the things that I'm mindful of is it's different if they're 15 or 16 compared to if they are 23 or 25 or 30. Um, the differences are 15, 16, they're still in the home. There's still some expectation of how they contribute to the home. You still got to navigate that. But if they're 18 or plus, um, a good friend Jim Burns wrote a book, Parenting Adult Children, subtitle, fantastic. Keep your mouth shut and the door open.
Ooh, that's
I think he
good.
summed it up really, really well. Like it's this delicate balance for us with adult children to be available, to mentor, to guide. We have stuff to offer, but we don't initiate that. We keep our mouths shut when it comes to their choices in life. I don't mean completely shut. You can still parent. I think you can still speak. My mom, before she died a few years ago, was still speaking into my life every once in a while. I
Absolutely.
welcome that, right? But
Right,
less often, a whole lot less often than when they were in your home.
right.
But you are available, meaning you can be there beside them, and then if they need help, hopefully that I think is the balance that we're shooting for.
Yeah, and I mean, if they ask for your advice, I think certainly you're going
Mhm.
to offer that.
Yeah,
But so many times they start talking about things and we want to give advice and they haven't asked for that advice.
it's right. That's
And
right.
that's when you have to keep your mouth shut.
And that's when I think you notice them wanting to leave more quickly.
Right.
They're wanting to get out from under that, and
Yeah.
you have to recognize you're a part of that in some way. Okay,
And don't
next
don't
question.
be judgmental about
Yeah.
everything they do, even if it's different than how you would do it. They sense that.
All of which means we pray more during this
Ex
season of parenting, because it's really not on us anymore to see things work out in our kids. Like, it's really more on them. So,
But let me just also add, so my oldest daughter is 30,
mm,
and she has come back around and is,
mm,
one who now wants more input, wants more of a relationship. She knows who she is. She's secure in her identity. So I do think kids get on the other side of that.
good. There's hope there. All right, good for that. We are newly married. When my 11-year-old stepson comes in the house, or really anytime, as I say hello, my stepson looks at me, doesn't speak, and then looks away. How should I handle this situation as a stepmom? You want to speak to that?
I always come back to, we have to be the adults. We
Mm.
cannot expect them. He's 11.
Hmm.
So he doesn't have the same kind of processing we have. We have to still be the adults and say, hello, how are
Hmm.
you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and I'm not saying it's easy, but I do think that's our place.
Yeah, I agree. I do think another thing you could do is have a conversation with your spouse, the child's parent.
Right.
And I think you can speak up for this as a step parent, but also it's really, really important to have the bio parent saying, hey, listen, in our house, everybody gets a hello.
Yeah.
This is a very important distinction. You imagine the dad saying this, you do not have to love your stepmom. You do not have to give her a big hug and a sloppy kiss, but you do have to be polite and
Right.
say hello,
Yeah.
make eye contact. And then you say, just like we expect you to do this when grandma comes over, just like I expect you to do this when the neighbor walks over, when we go to church and you're saying hello to other adults. You put it into the category of, this is basic respect, not
Right.
love, not bonding. We're not asking you to just be happy all about our family and everything that goes along with it. You do have to be decent. That is definitely the bio parent's job to fulfill that. I think the step parent can say, hey, hello, be nice, say hello. That's all I expect.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
move on.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay. Do you have any advice for a parent, step parent trying to do right by their children when the ex spouse puts the children in the middle of a high conflict custody battle years after the divorce? I just want to jump in and say, that's a significant question. This happens a lot. It's very difficult. Nothing we can do here in 2 minutes is going to really suffice. I want to point our listeners, our viewers right now, to a podcast that we did. Podcast number 6, Challenging Co-Parent Situations and Parent Alienation. The podcast is called Family Life Blended. You can get it on your podcast app, or you can get it online, familylife.com/blended podcast. Again, number 6, Challenging Co-Parent Situations and Parent Alienation. Gayla, I had a co-parent and parent alienation expert
Hmm.
tell me they listened to this podcast and they now referred people to it because they felt like it was so good.
Wow.
It was really well done. Helen Wheeler was our expert. We interviewed a couple that was dealing with a dreadful situation. I really want to recommend that. This is a big, long, huge discussion,
Oh,
and you need
exactly.
to have some space to really absorb some things and some resources around that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
I agree.
we'll leave it at that.
I agree.
Okay, next question. What does my child call her stepdad? This gets into terms and how are we going to refer to one another in our home? Um, People are funny about this. I often find it's the adults who fret over this
I know.
subject matter.
I
And
know.
really, what's behind it is, I want us to be a family. I want my stepchildren to think of me as a loving parent. I
Mhm.
want them to feel like I love and accepted them. Of course you do, right? That's the whole point. And I totally get it. But terms are important and special, especially terms of endearment. The term mother and father are very, very special. And you can never impose those terms on a child. You just shouldn't do it, because it communicates the wrong thing. It sort of says, I'm going to erase and replace your biological dad. I'm your new dad. If
Yeah.
you try to erase and replace dad, I say you will be erased.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some truth to that.
So just don't do it.
Yeah. And just don't get hung up by the labels.
Yeah.
Let the child determine
There you
what they
go.
want to call you.
Yeah.
And, but I do think it's okay to have a conversation because in the
Right.
beginning of a marriage, everybody's kind of confused about
Yeah.
what people are going to call you and how you're going to introduce them, all of that.
Yeah,
So,
Gayla, I actually think having a conversation is the right thing to do because, I mean, get this. Step family living is primarily about co-creating some new reality for one another about how we're going to be family. You have to bring definition to
mhm,
your ambiguity. And one of
right.
the ways you do that is have a conversation and talk it through and decide together what feels right for you to call me. How in the home, when we're walking around, you're just saying, hey, can I have whatever? How are you going to refer to me? But it's very different when you introduce me to a teacher at school or your friend and after school or whatever. In public and private, you work that out, decide together what fits, and then you both had a say. The child had a voice, you had a voice. Together, you're creating definition.
Mhm.
This is bigger than just do I call you Susie or Deuce, Mama Deuce, whatever, or bonus mom. It's bigger than that. It's about who are we together. So the conversation helps you get there, and it might not just be one conversation; it might be many.
Well, and sometimes those names change. I mean, my
Yeah.
girls in the beginning called Randy Randy, but they moved into calling him dad as the relationship developed.
Mhm.
But when they were with their biological dad, he was again Randy.
Yep. Yep.
And they kept that straight. They knew that they needed to, and that's what they did.
And that all indicates the loyalty conflicts children are working out
Yeah.
internally,
Yep.
the pressure they feel from different homes to use different things and like or not like, and all of that's going on under the surface. So adults got to be really respectful. Let me point you to an article, our viewers, The Name Game. I wrote an article on smartstepfamilies.com, my personal website, smartstepfamilies.com. Search for The Name Game. This will really help. Okay, next question. How do you navigate and create new guidelines with time spent with our new blended family versus the overprotective and unrealistic rules that the biological mom has set in place when they are at her house? So I'm hearing a rules thing, like we do it this way, they do it that way. She's really overprotective and has all these unrealistic rules. We're trying to navigate some new guidelines. Have you noticed, Gayla, that anytime you create something new in your house, it's almost a commentary on the other house? I think kids intuitively get this. If
Mhm.
they're older than the age of 5, they just figured out, oh, you're telling me bedtime should be this, and mom says it's that. Therefore, you think mom's wrong. Like there's this inherent competition that comes out.
There is.
Even when you're not trying to say that, it's sort of embedded in, hey, we're going to do it this way.
Mhm.
It sort of implies you think there's something wrong in the other home. That's a real bind, I think, for parents. And so you got to be careful not to, in fact, I would encourage you to say out loud, that's not what this is.
Right. I was thinking that too. Yep.
It's fine that your mom puts you to bed at, we're going to do it this way here.
Yeah.
And it sort of takes the, oh, so it's not a competition, it's not a battle, it's not a you're right and she's wrong. It's just this is the way we're going to do it.
Mhm. Mm.
Sometimes kids get confused. They come over to your house, like, how do we do it here? Oh, yeah, we get our plates out, we fill our plates, and then we go to the dinner table and sit. But at mom's house, we sit at the dinner table, we wait for the food. Yeah, it's different. I get it. Neither right or wrong, just different styles and preferences. But this is the way we do it here.
Yeah, and it kind of even sets up a more of a conversation about giving our stepkids grace when they move between homes and those
Mhm.
transitional days
Good.
and the challenges that the kids go through when they move between homes
Hmm.
because they are adjusting to different expectations and different rules and they may not get it just right, but don't jump all over them. That's
Yeah,
not going to help. So,
it's a good
and the other
word.
thing I was gonna say is you can only control what goes on in your home. You cannot control what goes on in that other home. So
Mhm.
just don't try.
And it's okay for you to have some differences.
Right.
Your house, your rules.
Yeah,
It's okay.
it is okay.
Okay, next question. What's the best way to handle family traditions that conflict? Um, should we attend them separately? This question was asked multiple times about holidays and traditions and whatnot. And so let me just plug real quickly, podcast episode 21, Step Families and the Holidays. We put a lot of work into that one, didn't we?
Yes.
Got a lot of input from our guests, and then we had a panel discussion about it. So there's a lot packed into that. Family Life Blended podcast number 21, Step Families and the Holidays.
Yeah.
So should we attend things separately? I really like the question, because I think the answer is yes. Intuitively, what a lot of adults feel is, no, we should never do that. Like, you take your kid and go to grandma's birthday party on your side of the family, and we don't go because we have this other holiday thing going on. I know that feels really weird. I think sometimes, though, it's okay. It's really all right for you, because it's true. You and your children have intimate connections with people, extended family, that the other side of your blended family doesn't have.
Right.
You don't have to force togetherness when it's not naturally happening. It's okay from time to time to make a strategic decision to say, we're going to divide and conquer. We're not dividing our family as in tearing it apart, but we're dividing our time as in investing in certain relationships that have more depth than others. What do you
Right.
think?
And also form some new family traditions, though.
Hmm.
Talk to your kids about what is fun. What do you consider that you would want to do that is would help us celebrate? Traditions bring a sense of belonging
Hmm.
to a family. And as you do traditions year after year, and those new traditions that are just, within your new family, I just
Mm-hmm.
think that can set you up for good relationship building.
Let's do 2 or 3 more. Okay. What is the best piece of advice you would give to dating couples as they move towards blending marriage or family? I'll immediately mention we've got a couple of resources on that. Dating and the Single Parent is the best book for you trying to get your head around dating all the way through the process of getting engaged and trying to decide whether you want to get married or not. How do you include the children in that process? I think it's I think it's a good book. And then my other book for engaged couples, which is really about trying to get ready for life after the wedding, is Preparing to Blend. That book's coming out in September of 2021. So there's
Yay.
some resources there to jump in on and really take a deep dive. Yeah. Other thoughts?
Oh gosh, take it slow. I
Yeah.
mean,
Go slow.
yeah, don't be in a hurry, but yeah, read your books. Those are good books.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, one last thought about go slow. Coupleness does not equal familyness. That's one of my core teachings, that whether you're dating, engaged, or already married, just because you fall in love with a person, coupleness doesn't mean that the children and everybody connected to those two people are going to be a family and naturally want to or are motivated to, and that they will do so in the manner in which you want, the quickness with which you want. That's the unrealistic expectation. So when couples are dating, they think everything's on go. The kids seem to be fine. Well, the kids are fine that you're dating. The kids are not fine when he or she, step parent, moves into the house with 3 children of their own and all the space is taken. And now they're telling me what to do. And before they were just being nice dating you, but now they're telling me what to do and acting like my parent. That's a
Yeah.
wholly different story. That's why you can't rush it. So the more time you spend bringing the children with you
Mhm.
through the dating process, the easier the transition is after the wedding. That's the punchline. Learn more about that with those
And the
resources.
other thing is, if both of you have children, which Randy and I did, do some things where all the kids are coming
Mm,
together so that you begin to kind of get a jump on those
yeah.
relationships, and understanding each other a little bit. But it is not going to be the same. I talked to
Mm,
somebody just this week, Ron, who said to me, everything changed when we got married and moved in together. All of
yeah.
a sudden, my stepson just doesn't like me anymore. So,
That is not uncommon.
yeah,
Our viewers just have to know that is predictable. I
right,
mean, you can anticipate it. We assume that will be the case with at least one person,
right.
maybe with many.
Yeah,
You've got to understand that going in. And so take your time, learn as much as you can.
exactly.
2 more. What can you say to blended families who were formed out of widowhood, not divorce?
Mm.
Excellent question. I got a couple of immediate thoughts. I do want to point people again. We did a whole podcast with Diane Fromm, who has written a book, Step Parenting and the Grieving Child, which is all about being a step parent after the biological parent has died.
Right.
Podcast we did, number 17, with her is an excellent listen. Her and her husband, actually.
Mhm.
Excellent listen. Two thoughts. There's a permanency to loss after the death of a parent that you don't have with divorce. Obviously, with divorce, children still see their biological parents, move between homes. They're still engaged in my life. When dad dies, he's gone. There is a permanent loss, but he is living, and there is a presence that is ongoing, and people need to understand there are two sides to this thing. So there's a permanence in the sense of, I can't see my dad anymore. I'm baffled by what life would be like with him. And yet I dream of him. I feel emotionally attached to him as a child. I still think about our relationship. When I'm with my stepdad, I am also mindful that I wish my dad were here. So my permanent loss and longing for him gets in the way of me experiencing joy with my stepdad. Those are pieces that are really important, I think, for step parents
Mhm.
to understand. And then one other little thing has to do with marriage, and then feel free to react. After a divorce, former partners want to find a new partner that is different than the last one.
Hmm.
Generally speaking, that's kind of generally true. But after the death of a spouse, generally speaking, especially if it was a pretty good marriage, you
Yeah.
want to find a partner who is much like your other one.
Yeah.
And there's even some expectation that you're going to be like that, and we're going to get up and brush our teeth at the same time, just like me and my former husband. And all those little moments and rituals of life will be the same, because that's the way marriage goes. Well, then you discover with a second spouse, oh wow, we have more that's different. We don't naturally have those little rhythms. You're this way, they're that way. They wanted to handle conflict quickly, you want to handle it slowly. All of a sudden I'm like, I don't really know how to do this sort of marriage.
Right.
And so there's unmet expectations and hopes. And now we have a little more conflict. And so there's sort of this frustration that naturally comes. So it it does change expectations and assumptions about even a marriage relationship.
Yeah, I honestly had never thought about that after death, you're really looking for somebody that is similar. I mean, if that was a good marriage,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But there's no way you're going to find somebody that,
Uh-uh.
there may be some similarities, but, we're unique. We do things uniquely. Yeah. So, the thing one thing I thought about is to walk in community. We haven't talked
Mm,
about that a lot as we've gone through
mhm.
the questions, but walking in community with others who have been through a similar journey, I think that can really help,
Yeah.
especially in regards to grief.
Good.
And yeah, but I like Diane Fromm also. Her stuff is good. She's got an active Facebook page, and that's a good place for people in that situation.
Let's do one more. They say to, quote, take things slowly when it comes to blending families. What does that really look like in daily life? And what are the best strategies for those of us who are still in the dating phase but are definitely moving toward marriage? Well, I think we just talked about that part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's talk about the daily life thing. What does taking it slowly mean? One of the things I like to talk about is you cook a step family with a crock pot, which means it's slow and it takes a long time, and ingredients and relationships naturally sort of happen slowly, but they do happen eventually.
Right.
Um, so it's sort of like, yeah, break that down into the day in the life of a step family in the early years. One of the things I was thinking is, it's a great question. I I think for a step parent, for example, who has big dreams and hopes for relationships with stepchildren, it can really break down into, I had a connection at breakfast this morning with this one child. I got a couple of stepchildren, like, man, we're going and blowing, we're having fun. We laugh, we play games together. It works. 2, 3 times a week, we're having fun. But there's this other child where if I get a smile out of that kid at breakfast, it's a gold medal day. And everything else in the day feels cold, it feels distant, it feels hard, and it's awkward. And I guess that's what my crockpot day today really is like. And I would say, yeah. and multiply that over a number of days, if not months, years, whatever the case may be, then it adds up to something really significant. But day in and day out, it doesn't feel like much at all.
Right. And some of that doesn't change even after you marry,
Hmm.
that it oftentimes takes longer than we want to form relationships with our
Yeah.
stepkids and celebrate the good days. That was the
Hmm.
thing that I learned to do is thank you, Jesus, that we had a good day today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're somebody who likes to journal, put that stuff in your journal so you
Yeah.
can go back on those days where you're feeling so sad and that these relationships are never going to be what you want, and they will. But
Hmm.
yeah,
There can be days where you are glad the kids are at the other home
right.
and your spouse is missing them and wishes
Yeah.
they were still with you. And you're just in a different place as husband and wife in that moment. And
Yes.
yet it's sort of like, all right, I have grace for you feeling the way you do. Please have
Right.
grace for me feeling the way I do. Let's still go out on a date tonight. Like, let's take advantage of the moment and get some us time. You don't have to be the same. I think people really undo themselves when they expect their partner, the bio parent or step parent, whichever it is, to feel and see things exactly the way I do. Then all of a sudden I have this, if we're not the same, then we're not together thing going. And no, that's not true.
Right.
You're more the same. You're different about this one particular subject. Yeah.
Mhm.
But don't let that destroy your sense of us. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. And also, I feel like the step parent, obviously, in the dating phase, they may not have the courage to do it. But sometimes step parents, they can be more objective about things that they see in regards to
Mm,
things that are going on with a child. And so, as a bio parent, if we can learn to be open to that, even when we're dating,
mm,
and listen to what comments they might be saying, there's some value in that. So, because more than likely, it's definitely going to happen once you're married and you're all living together. And there's things that you've been so enmeshed with this child that you just think is normal. And all of a sudden they're going, that's really not normal. Let's
mm.
talk about it. So,
Well, this has been fun, Gayla. Time to bring it to a close. To our viewer, let me just say again, Gayla's resource, Step Parenting with Grace, is a wonderful book. It's part of a series of books and resources, over 15 at this point in time, books, videos, resources. We do online courses, live events, podcasts, keep pushing them out every other week. Check us out at familylife.com/blended to learn all about the things that we're doing to try to help your relationships grow and develop over time. It's good to have you with us, and be watching for our next video answering your questions. familylife.com/blended. Thanks, Gayla.
bye.